What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about what it costs to own and operate a 24-year-old 7.3 Powerstroke, going on 25 years. Well, maybe not this one. This is a late 99 F250 7.3 Powerstroke. This one's two-wheel drive. It currently has 159,000 miles. I don't know really anything about the history of it or what its life before I got it was like. All I know is it was in really good shape besides the side swipe incident on this side. So there was a problem there, obviously. I had to put batteries in it. It had a cold air intake on it, and it had a tuner. The tuner was left on the stock setting, supposedly, right? That's what they all say. But anyways, I run it all the way up because I don't care. So we're going to go ahead and crank it up. We're going to go for a drive. And we will talk about what it cost me to own and operate this truck for almost 2 years. I've owned many 7.3s. There's some over there. There's one over there in the shop. So I can go into details on those too and tell you really what it cost. So far, this has been the cheapest one. I also have only put 10,000 miles on it, so I haven't really got to really, drive it a whole lot and see what it cost. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get it cranked up. Now, I have some problems here. I've already changed the glow plug relay. I think I have injector problems. You'll see when I crank it up. So that's part of one immediate problem you're going to have with a 7.3 Powerstroke if it's not running properly. If nothing's working right, it's not going to start very well in the cold. Now, if the glow plug relay, the glow plugs, and injectors are all in really good shape, as long as your low-pressure oil pump and all that, everything's working, then it should start right up. However, this one does not. It was about 17 degrees last night, and I did let it warm up outside to about 32 degrees, I think is what it is now. But we'll see what this thing says the oil temp is. It always seems to read a little warmer than it actually should be, but we'll just see what it says anyways. It says 39. It's colder than that. It's got to be. But I'll set you up outside, and you can see how it starts. You'll just see how it's very rough to start. I think it's got glow plug or injector problems for sure. So you can see clearly that this thing is very hard to start, makes a lot of smoke, makes a lot of rough noises. That is not the way a typical 7.3 should act. In fact, my 7.3 over there with 747,000 miles will start easier than this one. So obviously there's a problem. And it's not that the motor's wore out. I wouldn't think it's wore out with 160,000 miles. You can see here, 159,344 miles. So just really quick, before we go take off down the road, I'm going to show you this. This right here is all the money I have put into this truck. Now, obviously, this is going to be dependent on the truck. And before we take off down the road and I start talking about it, because I'm going to go into a little more detail about the other 7.3s I've owned and what it's going to cost you. Because right here, you can see I bought the truck with 150,000. So I have not even put 9,000 miles on this thing. I paid $4,000 for it. It's a 2-wheel drive. I bought a weather guard toolbox right away for $940. There you go, not part of the cost of the truck. Put an oil change, $74. 2 interstate batteries, $398. Rotated tires. I did front wheel bearings and all the shocks, which was not even necessary. I just did it as kind of like a, why not, you know. I heard some howling in the front, but I don't think it was even necessary, but we did it anyway. And then an oil change. And this truck used to start very well in the extreme cold, and then that changed as of October of 23. Don't know why, I just randomly decided it wasn't going to start in the cold anymore. So we have developed some sort of issue that I will look into getting resolved, and I want to try and figure it out. We are going to be going to town right now with this truck, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. We'll do a couple, driving shots, 0 to 60 maybe, and some other stuff, just for fun. Really quick, I would like to show you this. This is my 2002 7.3. This is the one I bought in April, and drove it for about almost 3 years before I ended up blowing the motor. So I plan on getting it fixed, but obviously that hasn't come yet. So right here's accessories. So really all this is kind of void, right? It has nothing to really do with the truck. However, that's the total amount of money spent in accessories over the 3 years. Here is the service, right? Wiper blades alignment, self-oil change, right? It's all here. Now, I want to do a video of this with my 6.7 to really showcase everything as well, because this oil changes might as well be double. Fuel filters might as well be double on your maintenance of the 6.7. And with the repairs of the 7.3, now, this is page 2. Page 1 was after because it got ripped off. So you can see the repairs here of my 02. Everything. I mean, you can see there locking hubs, ball joints, front axles, axle seals, U-joints, brake pads, brake, everything. Belt, had to redo the transmission, pulley tensioner, starter, turbo, leaf springs, torque converter under warranty, brake calipers, shocks, tie rod ends, power steering pump, axle seals. Originally had to do it twice, right? And then you have page 2, idler, pulley, calipers, more calipers, U-joints, more U-joints, more brake pads. I went through brakes a lot. Electrical plug, turn signal, multifunction switch, ICP sensor, pigtail, pitman arm, rebuilt both drive shafts, $2,100, installed gearbox, fuse panel, taillight wires, $1,200, so more electrical stuff, 4-wheel drive relays, fuel pump, and then, bam, we didn't have any more repairs after that. So this is the total. I had $32,010 in that truck. That included buying it over the time. So $970 a month for 33 months. That's how long I ran that truck. $970 a month. And the 6.7 payment on mine, when I paid way more than I should have, pretty good interest rate, financed it for $950 a month. So look at that. But don't let that be a factor, because I'm going to make a video of the 6.7 because it obviously has its fair share of repairs and stuff in its pages as well. So I'm not going to reveal right here what the difference in price is per month and stuff, but you'll see soon enough in that video. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoy this video. We're going to go to town now and talk about it some more. So we're going to test out this shot. Probably won't stay there, but we'll try it. So why'd you buy a 7.3? Is it because of what the I ran over? So there's many factors when buying a 7.3. That's the first thing to ask yourself. Why would I want a 7.3? Why do I have a 7.3? Why, how'd I end up with one of these things? The reason I personally have 7.3s and will probably always have one is because these are what I grew up on. My dad had one. I went on road trips. I rode in these from the time I was, born. Before I was born, my dad had these trucks. The Super Duty specifically was my favorite, because that is exactly what I rode in from the time I was a baby. So I really have a connection with these trucks. I'll always have one. I'll always keep one running. So with that being said, this truck, these trucks, they just have a special place in my heart. No matter how much of a pain in the butt they are, I will always try and keep one running, especially the gold one. I want to get it restored one day whenever I get rich and famous. But however, for now, I will stick with this one that runs and drives. And so I'll go ahead and explain why I have this one, how I ended up with this two-wheel drive 7.3. So it all started back in July of 22. It's shortly after I moved out here to Montana. This road's rough. I had my 6.7, you know, I bought that because my 7.3 blew the motor. I had 448,000 and I needed another truck. I didn't feel like going through the process of trying to find a 7.3 that was not a pile, and I didn't feel like trying to, you know, wait around and trying to find whatever, you know, whatever the story is. I ended up with a 6.7 because I thought, this is reliable, this is what I want. I'm gonna buy one of these and use it to drive across the country, use it because I had a lot of driving to do, which I've put, you know, over 60,000 on my 6.7 now at this point since that day. And it served its purpose. So that's for a different video explaining the 6.7 in its entirety. But to explain how I got this truck, it was because I hit a deer with the 6.7 and it was out of commission for a while, dealing with insurance, body work, whatever. Truck was down for a couple months. I had to have a truck to work, had to continue making money, couldn't stop because the truck was broke down. I tried looking for, you know, Chevy 1500s, F-150s, Suburbans, you know, anything. Tried borrowing people's vehicles. I don't like borrowing. And then I was thinking, you know, what's one thing you can buy and you might have pretty good luck with it. I scoured the internet forever looking for 7.3s. Everybody wanted $10,000, $12,000 for the ugliest piles of crap with, you know, 300,000-400,000 miles on them. I ended up seeing this one for $4,000. And it was on there for a long time. I scrolled past it many times because every time I clicked on it, I was disappointed. You know, I saw the price and it convinced me. And every single time I clicked on it, I saw two-wheel drive. Like, dang it, you know, I don't want two-wheel drive. Then I finally got to thinking about it. You know, that's a 7.3 two-wheel drive with 150,000 miles. That's the best truck I could buy and not have to worry about it being wore out and broke down all the time. So I bought it. And I was very happy with it. You know, two-wheel drive worked. It was summertime. And figured, what the heck, this thing's gonna run. So that's why I bought it. That's the story, how I ended up with it. It's been a great truck. I really haven't had any issues out of it. You saw there at the beginning of the video all the papers and everything I've done to it. And so there's your story. That's how I ended up with this. However, that still doesn't answer the question, you know, why would you buy one? Why should you buy one? Really, it's a matter of if you want one or not. 7.3, you know, do you want a 7.3? You know, do you love them? Sure, that could be a reason. Cost can be a reason. If you don't have $30,000, $40,000 to get your hands on a pretty decent used 6.7, then you might be looking at one of these. If you don't have the credit to go finance a 6.7 and you just, you know, you can afford a 6.7, but you just don't want to put out $40,000, $50,000 or even more than that for one that's new, then you're looking at these. You know, $10,000, $12,000 will get you a pretty decent 7.3 nowadays. You might look at them for, you know. So I'm in the middle of editing this video, and it's been a while since I recorded that. Not a while, I mean, a week, if that. But I noticed I forgot to mention another big, gigantic reason why you might be getting a 7.3 is because between the 7.3 and I'd probably say at least 13, 6.7, really 15 and up, I'd stay away from 11 through 14, especially 11 and 12. But between the 7.3 and the 6.7 is a skip era. You just shouldn't buy, if you're smart and you're not mechanically inclined, you should not buy an 03.5 to 2011, especially 6.0 or 6.4. So that's another extreme reason to buy a 7.3 is because you're pretty much restricted down for the Powerstrokes. You're restricted to a 7.3 unless you can afford a 6.7. Because a 6.0 and 6.4 you might find for a good deal, but just stay away from those. So I thought I'd throw this in there. Cost, or so you think. The one thing I can tell you to expect when you buy a 7.3 is repairs. These things are old, they're wore out. You know, every single one of them has 200,000 or 300,000 at least. Even if they have less miles, they can still prove to have problems. They could still be wore out. You know, the miles aren't the biggest deal. It's more about how it's taken care of and what all's been done to it. So when you're looking at these, I would always try and look at one that's completely stock, untouched, you know, know, as close to stock as you can get. The more stock, the more better, right? That's the way it is, especially with these trucks. So when you do get one, don't be surprised when you immediately have to put thousands of dollars into it to get it right. And that brings up a second point when purchasing a 7.3. If you can't work on your truck yourself, or if you don't want to, like myself, you know, I can work on these. I really don't enjoy working on vehicles. Every time I do, it's a nightmare. And, you know, cold fingers, oil, dirt, diesel fuel, crud, stuff in my eyeballs, bolts breaking, bolts stripping, nuts twisting, you know, whatever. I really don't enjoy working on them. So if you're going to be paying somebody to work on a 7.3, just so you know, you're going to be in probably more than a 6.7 to get it fixed in most cases. At least, you know, most of the time from what I've seen. My main mechanic back east when I lived in North Carolina, he was at a point where he almost didn't even like 7.3s anymore. He really didn't work on them. He tried to stay away from them, especially the OBS. They're even older and harder to get stuff for them. So he really didn't touch OBS trucks at all. And then Powerstrokes like this, he wouldn't touch unless it was for somebody that's been a good customer like myself, you know, for years and gave him tons of money to work on them. So a good mechanic's hard to find for a 7.3. And when you do find one, more than likely they're going to be charging whatever they want to charge, because they're going to be getting covered in oil and grease and dealing with a bunch of crap. So when you buy a 7.3, always expect $10,000 in repairs immediately. And that's not an exaggeration. You know, obviously this one doesn't really need it, but at the same time, here we are needing injectors or whatever else to get my cold start problem fixed, not to mention anything else that could show up at any minute. That doesn't mean go buy a 6.7 and that's going to cure your problems and you're not going to have repairs that are expensive. You know, the 6.7 parts are outrageous. You know, you're going to be paying upwards of $10,000 to get your fuel system redone if you lose your injectors and everything, you know. They're not cheap. 6.7 is not cheap. Transmissions are more money in a 6.7. Engines are more money in a 6.7. Parts are more money in a 6.7. Most parts are anyways. So that's, like I said, if you can work on it yourself, the 7.3 is going to be way cheaper and it's going to be the way to go. If you want a truck that's extremely comfortable, you might want to buy a 6.7, you know, for long distance. You're not going to get tired as quick, I don't think. You're going to enjoy having your heated, cooled seats, your power windows, which I think you can get all that on a 7.3 certain years and models. However, you know, I don't know. These things are getting old. You're going to have a lot of issues with stuff. It's just part of the game. As far as reliability goes, it's kind of torn for me. I don't know what to tell you. I personally believe overall you're going to be more reliable and more trusted with a 6.7 because they're newer, lower miles, and there's tons of them that go a long time. And the 6.7 is not a very problematic truck. There is problems, but the 7.3 at this point, you're more likely to have problems. They're just so old, you're going to see stuff go wrong. On a long trip, yeah, you're going to want to be in a 6.7. Fuel mileage is about the same, in all honesty, between these and a 6.7. In my experience, that's with a 10-speed or a 6-speed 6.7. You're not going to be much better than a 7.3. This one here, I've seen upwards of 18, 19 miles per gallon. I just did the math not too long ago, and it was 13.8, I believe. Now, that's me just not being able to resist to the full throttle every time I get in this little thing because I love it so much. But yeah, 6.7, you're going to be a lot better off probably in a long trip, you know, as far as being able to trust it and less breakdowns. The national average of breakdowns is probably higher on a 7.3 now. These engines are great. They were great. You know, you buy them, they go 500,000 miles, whatever. But don't forget the rest of the truck had its fair share of problems as well. Air conditioning problems. This one, surprisingly, heat and air both still work great. I obviously don't have a radio in here anymore. If they would have left the stock one in it, it probably would have still been in here. But the aftermarket Walmart junk they threw in it did not last, and it was just problematic. So took it out, and we're using a JBL that's 7 years old. It's a very beautiful day. Very beautiful. We took the Rubicon on a little ride too. Here's a Subaru everybody's been watching out for the last few days. Just like that, we're back at the house. Not really. Didn't make our town run yet. We just got to start over. Power-wise, these are, you know, they're all right. If you're going to be towing, they're not going to do what a 6.7 is going to do, but they'll get the job done. For example, talking about reliability, and that's going to spark a real, you know, probably argument. These, in my opinion, like I said, are not as reliable anymore. and I have pretty interesting statistics. So I've probably had 70 or 80, well, probably more than that. I probably personally have 100,000 miles under, on a 7.3. And I've been left stranded 3 or 4 times total on 7.3s. Stranded, as in like left on the side of the road because something broke down and I couldn't get home. On my 6.7, I've put 65,000 miles on it, and I've never been left stranded yet. My dad has been left stranded many times by that gold one back there. Now he obviously has over 700,000, which kind of in itself speaks for itself. But it also has its fair share of breakdowns, and he's been left stranded more times than you can count. He actually, when the truck was brand new, got stranded at 70,000 for the transmission. And so many times he broke down back in 2001 and 2 when the truck was a year or 2 old that AAA canceled him because they were going to go bankrupt towing his 7.3 that was always broke down. So when it was brand new, it was lemon and it had its fair share of issues. My dad's got about 200,000 miles combined in 6.7s, probably close to that 180,000. And he's never been left stranded yet. Now, he's had 3 different ones. He had his 21, he had a 17, and a 2020. And has never been left stranded by any of those. Now they've broke down, so is mine's broke down, but it's never broke down. Like on the side of the road, broke down. It's been stuff that just needs to be fixed. So that's just an example. Baby Joe. I absolutely love the sound of a 7.3. Like I said, that is my favorite sounding, in my opinion, the best sounding diesel ever. It's my favorite for sure, and I think it is the best. Listen to that thing. They just have a very unique idle. The exhaust sounds good at idle. It sounds good at accelerating. Everything about the 7.3 sounds awesome. I don't like the way 6.0 sound at all. I mean, I like the idle of a 6.0, but I don't like that loud, farting sound when you take off really fast. 6.4s, I don't even know anything about those, so I don't really know how they sound even. I know how they sound, but they sound okay, but they still kind of sound similar to a 6.7 at idle. And a 6.7 at idle, to me, the engine itself reminds me of like an old Detroit, like in a Chevy. They kind of sound stupid to me at idle. The exhaust, I like the way they sound when you get on them. The 6.7, I like the scream, they sound really good. But the idle of a 6.7, nah, not for me. I like the sound of a 7.3. Listen to that thing. You get a whole different feeling driving a 7.3 compared to anything else. You just get a different feeling, different response, the way they feel. Love these trucks for sure. So don't think this video is negative towards 7.3s. It's actually positive. I encourage everyone to drive one. I think, well, it's proven it is cheaper than a 6.7. I'm not going to go into details of a 6.7, like I said, but it is cheaper than a 6.7 to drive one of these. It's just, do you need it to not break down ever? Do you need it to, 6.7s break down. Do you need something with less downtime? Do you need comfort? Do you need to look nice? Do you need to, just depending on what you need to do is kind of your factor in when buying one. If you need to tow 20,000 pounds every day, buy a 6.7. Don't buy one of these. If you need a truck to just daily drive and you can work on it yourself, wrench on it, you kind of want project, you want the simplicity of the cheapness of a 7.3, then drive one. Get one, If you need to tow a boat every now and then, or dump trailer here and there, pull a tractor, these will tow anything, but not as good as, not as good as a 6.7. These roads are very hard on my trucks, so it's very impressive how well they hold up. At the end of the day, as long as you're in a 7.3 or a 6.7, you're going to be just fine. And stay away from a Duramax or a Cummins or a 6.0 or a 6.4 or a gas or a Suzuki or whatever it may be. I'd stay away from it. If it ain't a 7.3, 6.7, or a 6.2 gas, don't even touch it. Here you guys will have a little acceleration after this truck passes. Here we go. The 7.3 does make a great grocery getter. So we're back from town, and we'll continue to talk a little bit more about the 7.3 Powerstroke. Yeah. Here eventually I'll make a video of total cost of ownership for the 6.7. But the 7.3, long story short, is cheaper than a 6.7. It is pretty reliable. I would jump in this truck and drive it across the country. Wouldn't deem it as reliable as the average 6.7, even though it's always a chance. It's just the way it works. 7.3, you find one that's not ragged out with low miles, that's been taken good care of, that hasn't been changed up. You know, see, this one's pretty much bone stock. That's the best way to find them, and you'll probably have pretty good luck with the truck. So if you enjoyed the video, found it useful, found it worthless, hated it, whatever you think about it, comment down below your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe.